Alright guys, so today we are going to be trying out Penelope. So what I'm going to do first, we're probably going to be hopping into a mock battle first so we can get a glimpse of how the guard actually works. Because without the transcendent skill, whoa, why is this? Oh yeah, I know why this is maxed out, because I hop into I had the setting on maxed out. But essentially, without the transcendent skill, we are not getting the other portion of the guard raid. So without that, that means skill 1 is pretty much just kind of useless in a way, because the more damage that you're taking, the more the guard rate is going to decrease. So if this unit face off against a mobile suit that's able to do a lot of hit in succession, well, that means your guard rate is just going to go all the way down to 0 for this one specifically without the transcendent skill. So yeah, that's just going to be the unfortunate factor. And skill 2, just recovering the EX skill gauge isn't all that hot, honestly. So I feel like the survivability probably won't be as good if the guard is not active. So guard rate, having guard up, that means you're not going to be receiving much of a damage. So that's the benefit of having that. But if you are constantly taking damage, yeah, that's not going to be that good. So yeah, we are going to be hopping into the mock battle first, and then we'll see just kind of on a one-on-one how this unit will do. All right, so I do have all the max setting off for this specifically, so we can get like a fresh look. So if you guys are summoning one copy and then one copy of aim lane, all right, this is going to be the best this unit can do, right? So it's just going to be putting at 1x speed. So are we guarding? So right now we do have 55%, and then we are gradually getting that reduced, so we don't see the guard. So normally when it guards, you can see the guard symbol. So we guard right there once, and then can we guard? No, we cannot even guard that much. But we were able to defeat, Alex Gundam, fairly successfully, because obviously we do have the type advantage. But you guys can see, as far as actually guarding, is not a lot. It didn't really happen a lot. So when we do take a look at the battle report, you guys can see, yeah, it's not that bad when we are doing single target damage in a way, and when the enemy does not really have, investment at all. So overall, we can see that we didn't really guard all that well, right? So after we pop EXQ, obviously we were able to take a little bit less damage, so that's pretty good. But yeah, this one we guard, and then where was another time we guard? I think it was somewhere, yeah, right there. So we got once right there, so we weren't really taking a lot of damage. So that's the benefit of guarding. So the higher the guard rate is, the higher the chances of actually proctoring that. So that, I mean, that actually scales off with the policy of resistance as well, or the reaction. So the reaction comes in two flavors. I believe in the game menu it talks about having the higher your reaction rate is, the higher it is able to guard or evade. So having that guard percentage actually would help that as well. So yeah, so that's why it was like, man, without a transcendent skill, it's kind of like a mess. So I think the next thing we can hop into is probably this week's clan battle. I want to see how this unit would fare against the boss Penelope, or not Penelope, Cassid. So we're gonna hop into that and then see, how far we can guard. So this is pretty much the same setup that I had when I try out the initial clan battle, so we're gonna have it the same way. So I feel like for Penelope, max out is gonna be a lot more powerful in a way, because when we do factor in what aim lane is able to do compared to Hathaway, I think for defensive purposes, I think aim lane does a better job overall, because this one actually gives you the resistance that it needs. So for actual tanking purposes, we are actually, doing that. So I think you ain't actually doing that bad. Holy cow, man. Like we actually like doing better than we thought. So if we don't die, if we make it to the full duration, like this is actually going to be, I know damage wise is not anything too impressive, because I did opt to give it the HP module rather than the full DPS module. But man, like this is just a P0 T0 testing, and we are actually surviving longer than I'm expecting. So I'll definitely give it give it the credit it deserves. So okay, yeah, we deserve about the full duration. So I am definitely blown away by that. So pretty good. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now, I do want to check out the damage report, because ultimately we just want to see how many times we were able to guard, because we obviously didn't have a lot. So at the beginning, obviously we were able to guard because we were still pretty high in the guard rate. So as we were taking a lot of hits, yeah, we got another one right there. So that's pretty good. Guard 3 times, that's pretty nice. So yeah, at the first 5 seconds we were guarding a lot. Okay, and then after that we got another one right there 5 times. So I believe that's probably from the funnels, the missile funnels. And throughout we are guarding, it's just not as frequent, right? Then we took a little bit of damage. It's not that much though. That's good because of the resistance. The resistance from the pilot does actually matter a lot for a tank. So that's why when you guys are seeing people running full armor Gundam Thunderbolt, they don't really use the designated pilot, because the one that comes with it is giving you, like, I think it's accuracy and range sense, which you don't want from a tank. So is ultimately why people drop that and use replacement and just any other one. Like aim lane actually would be a really competitive, you know, option for Full Gundam Thunderbolt, because it actually offers range sense and resistance up to 80% in stacking. So that's why, yeah, this pilot is good for that purposes. So overall it's not that bad for a P0T0 testing. I'll definitely say is better than I have imagined, so not bad. So I guess the last thing that we can really test in, I'm not really comfortable with trying it out in actual arena, and I guess for the purpose we can do like kind of like a mock in a way, but I feel like in a mock is pretty hard to just designate a specific unit to, you know, no investment. So I'm just gonna chop things up and just gonna say, if you are planning to run, you know, Penelope in arena, do expect to get wiped out pretty fast, because we probably guard rate and all that stuff. Like the unit is just gonna melt like a butter. So I guess what we're gonna do, I'm gonna see how good this unit can aggro the boss in co-op, and then that's gonna be pretty much for the initial testing. It's just not gonna be that much, unfortunately for now. For the final testing, we are gonna be hopping in co-op, obviously, just to try out the tanking and just how much it aggros. So we do have two frontline. We have a ray, and then we have the armor, and then just gonna be setting some of the middle liner like our generics, and then back row we are just gonna be setting our bombardments, and let's just gonna see. So I think 2 times speed is probably good, and then we will just see how often it takes the hits. Okay, are we back yet? Oh, I skipped it again. All right, there you go. So whenever we see the icon for Penelope shaking, that means that we are getting the hits. So that's, you know, what this unit needs to do, because like generally speaking it would be hard, like, you know, generally speaking this role I intended to be for Sasabi, because Sasabi on this one does dodge a lot, because it does get the attention from Penelope, or excuse me, from F91. So it just, for this one I do want to see if we are putting specifically a tank, how much does it actually aggro. It's not that bad. You guys can definitely see it is constantly on it, right? So that's pretty good, and it's not really focusing on others, which is actually good. So if you guys are not really on par with like your unit, you know your unit aren't really dashing out a lot of damage, you know you would be taking a lot of hits in these tier 2 raid, it is actually pretty good to have a tank just to aggro the boss. So being a P0T0 and is able to guard effectively, meaning you don't die, is actually pretty respectable, right? So that's definitely what we love to see. And what is it? Both the unicorn actually took a fair bit of damage, so that was definitely something I was not expecting. But I mean, a tank is all the tank can do ultimately, and you know the boss has a mount on his own, so you can never just say, oh well, the tank is not really not doing a job, but it's just that the boss just loves jumping around. But I think later on we'll definitely have better tanks that specifically could, you know, do a better job, right? It's just this one right now is, you know, it is decent enough for global wise. I wouldn't really call it anything too spectacular in terms of what it's capable of doing. I think there's definitely a few elements that could have improved upon, which they did for the future unit, but I think for the time being, it's alright. If you guys do want to go for the shit, you know, be my guest and go for it. Is you know, if let's say Penelope is your taste per se, you know, just keep that in mind. Later on, we will be getting a generic version of this one. So meaning it's just not going to be a tank. It's just going to be a little bit more of a generic, you know, obviously. But as far as being just a tank itself, I think it did alright. It didn't die on a relatively harder, you know, co-op stage, which is actually pretty decent, because you guys know some tanks they crumble, and you know they go poof, and that's kind of it. So overall we did pretty good. And then one last thing, I'm just gonna quickly take a look at this just to see how much we were able to guard anyway. So I think it's pretty frequent that we are guarding, so that's actually pretty nice. So it's not bad, right? It's definitely not bad. But I mean, with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it with the initial testing of Penelope. It's definitely looking, you know, decently well for a tank, and it didn't really die me on any of the testing. So I think for now we are looking at, you know, overall looking pretty positive, if you will. So on the next video, we will be trying it out at probably just P1 T5 for my take on it. And then for the mock battle, we can definitely, you know, ramp things up and then just maxing things out. And then at that point in time, we can take a look at it and at a grand scheme of things to see, you know, how effective this unit is, you know, and you're maxed out.